Welcome to the deep dive, where we take a massive stack of source material and, through sheer force of will and a lot of caffeine, turn it into clear, memorable knowledge. Today, we're not just reading a novel, we are plunging headfirst into the psychological tempest that is Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights.
And our mission for you today is, I think, a really specific one. We want to move past that general summary of, it's a crazy love story. We're going to try and dissect the genuine literary genius here, the power of its very isolated setting, the bias of our narrators, and most critically, how the dark obsessions of one generation get passed down.
And maybe, just maybe, how they get healed by the next.
Maybe.
You really can't discuss this book without starting with the atmosphere, can you? I mean, the environment is less of a backdrop and more of an active character.
It absolutely is. The house is literally named Wuthering Heights.
Right, from that provincial adjective, wuthering.
Which describes the atmospheric tumult, as she puts it. This idea that it's constantly being battered. Brontë is signaling right from page 1 that this is a world defined by a kind of violence, specifically the violence of the natural world.
And you can see it, right, in the landscape, the stunted firs, the thorns.
Exactly, the thorns stretching their limbs all in one direction like they're trying to escape. It's a brilliant visual.
It's so intense. And Lockwood, our sort of unfortunate narrator who stumbles into all this.
Yeah, the outsider.
He nails it when he says that people in these regions live more in earnest, more in themselves. They're just totally cut off from what he calls the frivolous external things of city life.
Well, of course, if you're stuck in total isolation, all your focus, all your energy, it gets concentrated on the few people around you.
Yeah.
So the drama, the grudges, the passions happening inside Wuthering Heights, they become everything. It's inescapable.
Okay, so let's take that idea of hostility and look at the actual building. What does the inside of Wuthering Heights tell us about the people there? Because my first impression is that it's not just rough, it's actively unwelcoming.
It is absolutely designed to repel. I mean, the architect clearly built it to be strong, narrow windows, solid stone. But the layout inside, that forces conflict.
Because there's no lobby, right? No hallway.
None. You take one step inside and bam, you are right in the middle of the family sitting room, which they just call the house.
You're immediately immersed in the drama.
Instantly.
The description of that room is what I find so baffling. It's this complete paradox. You have this huge oak dresser just loaded with immense pewter dishes and even silver jugs and tankards. That signals money, doesn't it? Old money.
It does. But then that wealth is just slammed right up against this total domestic roughness.
Yeah, these primitive green chairs, oat cakes, and just legs of meat hanging from the ceiling.
And don't forget the weapons. A whole collection of villainous old guns and horse pistols right over the fireplace. It says, "We have nice things, but we're prepared to defend them." It's about defense and appetite, not comfort.
And the people who live there are a perfect match. So Lockwood arrives, he meets Heathcliff, who's about 40, very quiet, and just clearly annoyed that anyone is bothering him.
Right, and this is where Lockwood's social blunders immediately start to unravel the family structure for us.
He's a classic city person stumbling into this intense regional drama. He sees the young woman, the young Mrs. Heathcliff, and just assumes.
Assumes she's the wife, despite the obvious age gap. She's described as, slender, under 17, golden ringlets, but her eyes have this look of scorn and a kind of desperation.
And then comes the big reveal. She's not his wife. She's his daughter-in-law, Cathy Linton, married his son, who's now dead. That one misunderstanding tells you everything you need to know about the inherited misery in that house.
And it's here we also meet Nellie Dean. Lockwood sees her as steady, reasonable, and he notes that she's cultivated her reflective side because she wasn't distracted by silly trifles.
She seems like our anchor, the reliable witness we need in all this chaos.
She is the primary lens, yes. But we always have to remember, Nellie is. She's not an outsider. She's deeply embedded in both families. She's raised them. She's judged them. Her perspective is shaped by her own emotional baggage.
So she's reasonable, but not impartial.
Exactly. No narrator in this novel is.
Okay, so with that hostile setting, those volatile characters, where did it all begin? Nellie's story takes us back to what you could call the original sin of the house.
Mr. Earnshaw returning from a trip with a foundling, the boy he names Heathcliff.
And this act of charity, or whatever it was, it just immediately throws the family into chaos.
Immediately. Earnshaw's own kids are the first casualties. Henley's fiddle gets crushed. Catherine's whip is lost. This stranger completely disrupts the biological order and pits sibling against sibling from day one.
What I find so fascinating, though, is how Catherine Earnshaw reacts. She doesn't just reject Heathcliff. She seems to take this naughty delight in provoking her father by showing him that her pretended insolence has more power over Heathcliff than his own kindness does.
She's testing boundaries. She's using Heathcliff as a tool to see how much control she has.
And that desire for control, it ends up fracturing her own identity. After she spends time at Thrushcross Grange, she comes back having adopted a double character.
She's drawn to the Lintons, to Edgar's heart and soul, to Isabella's admiration, and the book is very clear why. It's because they flattered her from the first, for she was full of ambition.
That ambition leads directly to the fatal choice, the heartbreaking moment. When she's talking to Nellie, she lays out her reasons for loving Edgar. He's handsome and young and cheerful and rich.
It's a checklist.
It is. And her feeling for Heathcliff, she calls it pity. Or maybe even hatred if you were a clown. It's just this cold calculation of passion versus status.
And that is the part Heathcliff overhears. It's what sends him fleeing into the night. It wasn't just about being rejected. It was realizing her ambition meant more to her than their connection did.
The fallout from that is just devastating, especially for Isabella Linton. When she elopes with Heathcliff later, she sends this frantic letter from Wuthering Heights that perfectly captures the horror.
The questions she asks are so desperate. Is Mr. Heathcliff a man? If so, is he mad? And if not, is he a devil?
She realizes she's trapped. She married what she thought was a romantic hero and ended up a prisoner.
And the place itself is a prison. Joseph, the old servant, he squints at her and immediately locks the outer gate. She's locked in with this fortress of grudges.
Meanwhile, the original Catherine just collapses. Nellie talks about 3 awful nights where she's consumed by this feverish delirium, tearing the pillow with her teeth.
And the details she fixates on in that delirium is so telling. She starts obsessing about the pillow stuffing, murmuring of how they put pigeon's feathers in it, and no wonder I couldn't die.
It's so morbid.
It is. She's grasping for these tiny physical details to explain this immense suffering that she can't otherwise comprehend.
So that first wild, passionate fire burns out, and the story shifts into something, I think, much colder, calculated tyranny.
Yes. The misery continues, but now it's rooted in legal schemes, in property. Isabella dies, and her son, Linton Heathcliff, is delivered to his father.
And Heathcliff's reaction to his own child is just pure scorn.
Unadulterated contempt. He calls him a whey-faced, whining wretch. He clearly prefers Hareton's rough, natural strength, but he has to use the sickly Linton as a tool.
As a legal tool. He sees Linton and immediately understands this is his key to getting Thrushcross Grange. It's chilling, he puts him in a nice room, gets him a tutor to keep up appearances.
But he systematically starves him, not just of food, but of affection, of warmth. There's that great detail where Joseph notes that Hareton loved milk porridge, but the refined Linton just refuses the homely mess.
The inherited curse, it just manifests differently in the second generation. It's more psychological.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you see that cruelty play out when young Cathy, Edgar's daughter, first meets Hareton. She treats him with just immediate scorn. She thinks he's a servant.
And then she laughs at him for trying to learn to read.
And his reaction is just heartbreaking. He burns his books in shame. It shows you how successful Heathcliff's plan has been. He's raised Hareton to be strong, but completely defenseless against any kind of emotional or intellectual attack.
The violence of the first generation was explosive, physical. The second is, well, it's calculated. It's about class and manipulation.
And that manipulation continues with a secret romance between Cathy and Linton. Nellie finds their letters.
Right, the massive correspondence, which she describes as odd compounds of ardor and flatness. It sounds so artificial.
Like 2 kids performing a romance they've read about but don't really feel.
And this fake romance leads right to Heathcliff's final brutal move, chapter 27. Edgar is dying, and Heathcliff knows it.
So he kidnaps Cathy and Nellie, holds them at the Heights. He has to force a marriage between Cathy and the dying Linton to secure the property before Edgar can change his will.
He's totally explicit about it. He tells Nellie they're prisoners until her master is dead. And when Cathy refuses to give him a portrait of her father,
he just brutalizes her, strikes her, crushes the picture with his foot. It's that first-generation rage, but now it's perfectly weaponized for financial gain. And yet, right after that, we get this moment of incredible contrast. Edgar Linton's death. It's so peaceful.
It is. Amidst all that grief, he dies with this rapt, radiant gaze on his daughter, and his last words are, "I am going to her, and you, darling child, shall come to us." He finds his rest. He's free.
But the engine of revenge, that doesn't stop until Heathcliff himself just gives up. Nellie sees this profound shift in him.
He says his obsession has become pointless.
Yes, because he keeps seeing Catherine Earnshaw in the faces of the next generation, and young Cathy and Hareton, their resemblance to her. It just disarms him.
He says, I don't care for striking. I can't take the trouble to raise my hand.
His entire life's purpose has become so singular, so all-consuming, that the physical world and the pain he can inflict on it, it just doesn't register anymore.
His final state is a kind of disintegration. He says it perfectly. My soul's bliss kills my body, but does not satisfy itself.
And he lets it happen. He stops eating, stops sleeping for days. Even the doctor is baffled by what to put as the cause of death.
He gives these godless instructions for his burial, making sure he'll be next to Catherine, leaving a mourning Hareton to care for his grave.
But here's where we get that quiet, beautiful twist. The peace isn't found in some grand, passionate gesture. It's found in small, patient kindness.
Young Cathy and Hareton. They find their way to each other. They get engaged, planning a New Year's Day wedding.
And crucially, she is patiently teaching him how to read, the very thing she once scorned him for.
It's a beautiful reversal. And Nellie is overjoyed. She says she'll be the happiest woman in England on their wedding day.
The turbulence of Wuthering Heights is literally shut down. They plan to move for the Grange, leaving the Heights abandoned, except for old Joseph in the kitchen. And we end with Lockwood, back at the graves, Catherine, Edgar, Heathcliff, and he wonders how anyone could ever imagine unquiet slumbers for the sleepers in that quiet earth.
So if we connect all those dots for you, the learner, there's a really clear trajectory here. The explosive physical violence of the first generation, it basically created the environment for the psychological cruelty that defined the second.
That atmospheric tumult was quite literally inherited.
Right. And the key takeaway, I think, is that redemption wasn't achieved through some dramatic escape or passionate break from the past. It was slow. It was the hard work of mutual education and kindness.
They overcame that dark inheritance by choosing, well, intellectual elevation over spite. They rejected the bitterness of their predecessors.
And yet, let's leave you with this final provocative thought. For all the peace the living find, Heathcliff did achieve his ultimate goal in death. His final resting place is side by side with Catherine Earnshaw. So when we think about the enduring power of the Moors and of this story, what is it really? Is it the quiet, successful love of the second generation that truly lasts? Or is it the intense, destructive, all-consuming passion of Catherine and Heathcliff that continues to haunt that quiet earth?